Well, another part of your book here uh, said this is this. Well, you wrote a song, I think, called "This Is the State of the Union Message on Country Music."
Yeah.
Boy, okay. Did you open up a can of worms back then for doing that?
Uh, Not too much because I think so many people agreed with us. We didn't get a lot of heat about it
Yeah.
because country music was changing and we could feel it, just the earth moving below us, when this was happening. So I just wrote the song and I said, here's what we're thinking about. Here's what we feel like it is. And I think the country music, I think the industry, although they didn't follow that or stop what they were doing, they certainly understood it.
Yeah. What do you think about country music today?
I don't totally understand what is going on with country today, with the mainline country. I don't like the way it's presented. I don't like the way it's mixed. The music is sometimes louder than the words.
Mm-hmm.
And we were a very lyric. I talk about that in the book. We were probably more lyric than we were musical.
Mm-hmm.
Our music was very simple, and it never got in the way of what the song was about.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we liked, and that's what we grew up on and what we did. So I don't understand. I'm not going to blast it because every generation has their own way of doing it, and this is what they enjoy, and that's wonderful. It's selling, it's working, but it's just nothing that I will necessarily go out to see.
What about in the gospel music world? The status of the gospel music world today? What are you thinking?
I don't think it's changed as much as country music has. Like I say, I still like the groups that are flat out Southern gospel.
Yeah.
There's sometimes they will do segments that aren't that, and it doesn't entertain me near as much. But I don't mean to be critical. It's just what I like and what entertains me.
Yeah.
Or inspires me. Yeah.
Here's a one-off question, and then we're going to kind of go into the final recording, or we'll talk about the Amen recording, and then your final tour, and we'll wrap this part of it up for our morning this morning. But here's a one-off. Did Phil really jog in cowboy boots? Sure enough.
I have seen him do it more times than not. And he is as thin as he was when he was in high school. I got to tell you, the same way. But he jogs and walks, and yeah, he'll do it in cowboy boots to whatever he happens to have on.
That's crazy.
It's pretty crazy. But Phil just does whatever's on his mind at the time, and he never thinks about it. And I'll say, hey, you probably ought to put your tennis shoes on. This is all right. That's too much trouble. So he'll just take off, and he'd get off the bus and just. So I'm going to run about a half a mile, and he'd just take off running with his jeans and his cowboy boots on.
Man, he needs to get a boot endorsement. If those boots are that comfortable, you can jog in them. He needs an endorsement, man.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about your last studio album, 2002, and it was Amen. So here's this, one of the most awarded and decorated groups in the history of country music, and they come in on a gospel song and they're going out on a gospel song.
Yeah, because that's who we were. That is who we were at the core. And as I said, even when we were singing country music, we were doing it with a gospel style. We were doing it with gospel harmonies. And that album means a lot. We had a lot of original material on there written by a lot of our staff writers. And it means a lot. And we thought, what better title than Amen? Because we were pretty sure at the time that this would be our final album, our final studio album. So Amen seemed to be the right thing to say.
And in fact, it was your last studio album.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Man,
there was talk later, but we didn't do any others except for the final concert.
Yeah, which was a live event. Man, what was it like walking into the studios those last times? I mean, just personally, how was it hitting you?
It was a sadness, but also we knew that we were going to walk away from the career. We were ready to retire, and it took kind of a weight off of you. It's that first day that you say, when you say I'm going to retire, and that first day of retirement, it's like, I don't have to get up in the morning if I don't want to. You know, I can just sleep in. Don't have to worry about doing this or that. And anybody that's ever retired, they understand what I'm saying. So it was some of that, but it was also a sadness knowing when we left that studio that last night that we weren't coming back. That this is going to be it. We're going to go get something to eat, and then we're going home. And that's how it was too at the final show.
Who was the first of the four of you to broach the subject of retirement?
Harold. We talked about it. Huh?
How did he come to you with that?
He came to me with it, and probably a year before we ever done, maybe more than a year. We were sitting on the bus one night, just the two of us up in the lounge with the lights out, watching the towns go by. And he told me that, here's what I'm thinking about. And I said, well, it's something we can think about. I can honestly say, I don't know if I'm ready for that, but if you are, that's something we can talk about. And then as time went on, we didn't do anything. We just talked about it. And then Harold and Phil and Jimmy and I, we all four talked about when we might do it. And we decided to announce it a year before we did, to give everybody a chance to see the Statler Brothers that wanted to come see a show, be a part of a concert. And that way we still traveled that last year all over the United States, and they were able to come. But he was the first one, and then we all came around to that.
Yeah.
My only stipulation was, if we retire, though, it's going to be final. I don't want no comeback tours. I never liked comeback tours and comeback performances. I'd always seemed a little bit insincere to me.
Well, and to that end, here's a picture of me with you all at Renfro Valley.
Oh my golly, yeah.
This was the night before your last night going to Salem, and our buddy Russ Fair got with Marshall and got me in to see you all, and man, it was a night I'll never forget. Renfro
Valley is where that was taken.
Yeah, we were.
I love playing that place. I love playing Renfro Valley.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, here are some pictures of the performance of y'all in Renfro. I took a few pictures there. I'll show you a few more there. There you are, waving to the crowd.
Yeah. We always came back with our shirts, with our coats off, just because it was getting hot by the end of the show.
Yeah. Well, y'all killed it that night, and of course the people, they ate it up. There's Harold doing what he does. Look at him.
Yeah, playing with the people. He loved doing that.
Love that. So okay, so you decide to retire. I'm just curious at you. I know there was a bit of a range in your ages, a little bit, but why did you retire so early? I mean, that was kind of young for retirement, I thought.
Well, we had been at it 38 to 40 years, depends on how you count it. We'd been out there about 40 years doing what we did, and it's a young man's game as far as crawling on the bus and going on touring, and you're out gone for 2 weeks at a time, and one night stands, and it was just, we were tired. I can say we weren't disenchanted. We still loved the time on stage. We still had great crowds that were still filling up, but we were just physically thinking, maybe we ought to back off some. And we tried all kinds of thoughts. How can we just back off?
Yeah.
But then we had a band that was on salary to us. And we thought, well, we don't want to hurt them, but we can back off, but we don't want to do that to our employees. And we had a staff at our office. It's the same way. So we either going to be in the business or out of the business. It just didn't work, working 20 days a year or something like that. That just we couldn't make that work out. So that's when we decided that this is what we'll do.
Okay.
And we never regret it. We had a good time in retirement.
You mentioned that, you didn't want to do a comeback tour. You didn't like it when people did that and all that stuff. Were you ever tempted just to maybe go back to the studio and do a record, or just to go sing a song somewhere?
Matter of fact, we had thought that we might still record some albums, even though we weren't traveling and doing concerts. And we talked about that, but it never got any further than talk. We would say we'd do it, but it just didn't materialize for some reason or other. because our heads and our hearts were there. Jimmy went on, of course, he went on immediately to a solo career and has done just great. And we're so proud of him. That's what we wanted him to do.
Yeah.
Jimmy was a lot younger.
Yeah.
And he just wasn't quite ready to hang it up the way we were.
Yeah. Well, what about singing at all? Did you ever sing in public again after that final concert?
The night we were inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame, Wilson Fairchild did a song in our honor. Reba did a song in our honor. Daly and Vincent did a song. And the Hall of Fame said, now there's another slot. If you would like to do a song, feel free to. We thought, well, that's awful nice they did. But we said, okay, we will. And we sang I'll Go to My Grave Loving You the night we were inducted.
Wow. How did that feel?
It was so emotional. Sometimes I can't believe it really happened. We started singing it, and halfway through, the people, our families, our friends in the industry and everything stood up, and they were a part of that moment. And it was just that really, again, I've said so many times, this was one of the biggest nights of my life, but that one was, without doubt.
Yeah. And
all of our families were there.
So you're in the Gospel Music Hall of Fame, Country Music Hall of Fame. What else?
Oh,
It's
only a Hall of Fame that I know of. That's all. But those two really, really mean a lot. I'm telling you, we were just a year before it was the Gospel Music Hall of Fame, and that was, again, our families were there, and that was so important.